Hey y'all, I'm Lucy, and my website's paperglitterglue.com. And mostly I make 3D projects from paper or cardstock. And for this, I'm making a house I call Maison de Noel. I don't know if that's really the French way, but it's based on some French architectural drawings, which I'll show you in a minute. But this one I painted on heavy cardstock. I painted the colors on heavy cardstock. And this one is from cardstock that I already got the colors from 12 by 12 cardstock shop. And for the structure, I think it's important that you use 100-pound cardstock or higher because it makes a much sturdier house. And this is really a great little house. And I designed it a little big. You can kind of see that it's bigger than a lot of the houses I make. And I did that because I wanted it to function as a centerpiece, as kind of a, like if you don't want a whole village, you could put this in the center of your mantle and kind of decorate with some candles or some bottle brush trees around it. So that's the idea between this little French house, and I hope you will enjoy making it and make it with me. First, I thought I'd show you the inspiration for these houses, where I found the designs and sort of the elements that I combined to make these two houses. Remember, this is the one I painted. I used paint on a heavy cardstock, at least 100-pound cardstock, and this one is using just cardstock. And so let me get my photos. So these are the two photos two drawings I found online to help me come up with this design. What I really liked about this one is this kind of dormer, this sort of roof extension thing here, and I like these triple windows. I thought this was a bit busy and hard to recreate, so I didn't use that idea. But really, just this shape appealed to me. And this is the main shape, and I've actually kind of traced it so you can see it better. I like the roof line. I really like the roof line. I love the shape of the windows. Actually, maybe you can see them better here. These windows, and I included shutters in the pattern even though I didn't use them on my own pattern. So I've got this design here, this kind of line break here, another break here, and then these side stones. I think they're called quoins, Quoins. And then I like this the stone here, but I did want a door on the front, so I kind of modified the shape of the window to function as a door. And like I said, I left the shutters off, but you're certainly welcome to do shutters if you like them better. And it's an interesting detail. So, but that way I think you can kind of see how I combined the two houses, the two house shapes, to come up with this design for the French house, the Maison de Noel. All right, next I'm going to show you quickly how I set up the file within Cricut Design Space. The important thing to remember is to get to attach score lines, so your machine knows what the score lines are, and attach them to the appropriate piece they belong to. Okay, let's get started with our Cricut Design Space. I'm using my Cricut Maker to make this house, but you can use any of the Cricut machines except the Cricut Joy. Cricut Joy, this is just too tall for the Cricut Joy. So I'm going to show you how to set it up within Cricut Design Space. So first we're going to go to New Project here in the right upper corner, and now we need to upload the design. So upload, clicking the upload button in the lower left hand corner, upload image, browse. I'm going to browse my computer, and this is my kind of design file. I included two sets of files. I generally include printable PDF files. They will not open up in Cricut Design Space, but if you want to see how something looks, you can always look at the PDF or print the PDF if you happen to be cutting by hand. But these are the SVG files. And I'm going to start off with kind of my traditional arrangement for files, which is this one. And then I'll show you the other one. And this does indeed look like the file I want. So I'm going to continue. And here are image details if you want to add tags like it's a house, it's a Christmas house, it's a house from Lucy or paper glitter glue, or you add it to a collection of houses, or say you want Christmas house collection. You can do that on this image detail page. And when you're done with that, go to upload in the lower right hand corner and it will upload this file. And I like to see the entire file. So in order to do that, I need to reduce the size on the screen, not the actual size, just the size on the screen. So I'm going to reduce it. Looks like I've got to go down one more. This is in the lower left-hand corner, 25%. Now I can see my entire file. And sometimes I do this just in case I mess something up, I accidentally resize things, or so I've been duplicating the entire file while it's all grouped together, and you duplicate by hitting this button, and then I hide it. I just hide one version, and so I've got the whole file there, untouched, all grouped, and it's just kind of in the background. So if I need to go back and do something, I can, or maybe I delete a piece by accident, I've got the whole file right there. All right, the first thing I do to set up the files is ungroup. So here's the ungroup. We're in the layers panel here on the right, and this is the ungroup button. So I'm clicking on that. And now everything's by itself, or each piece. And if you want to make sure that it has uploaded at the right scale, you see my 1-inch square, and it says 1 by 1. And it also, in the size section, it says 1 by 1. So once we know it's uploaded at the correct scale, we can delete that square because we don't want to cut it out. All right, so let me show you the pieces with score lines. I'm going to move them over to the side. And these are the ones we have to do something with so that our machine will cut them out correctly. And I'm going to group these temporarily and hide them so they're not confusing me. But I've still got them there. They're in this group under the layers panel. They're just hidden. So to make score lines easier for you, I group the score lines with the piece it belongs to. So when I select this, you'll see that it comes in green here. Let's click this little arrow so it goes down. And then let's click these kind of strange looking lines here. And when we click on them, we'll go over to the operations menu and notice that the color box is red. And it's red because I drew those specific lines in red, and that's a clue that it's a score line. So now let's click the down arrow for the operations menu and scroll down to score. And now you'll notice that the score lines have turned into dashed lines. But we need to do one more thing. We need to make sure our machine understands that those lines belong with this piece. So we have to attach them with this little paper clip thing. So I'm going to attach. And now this piece, the score lines will always move with this piece. And we'll do the same thing. So we'll do the back piece. Where is it? It's in green. Do the down arrow. Choose these lines. Go over to the operations menu, check to make sure it's red, that those lines were drawn in red, score, attach. This piece goes in the base of the house to help maintain it in a good rectangular shape. I don't usually do this, but I think with a cardstock house, it really makes it sturdier. So it also has score lines. We'll select those lines. In red, score, select the whole piece, attach. And I'll do the same thing to the other pieces. Right now, I'm going to, kind of skip that for a second, and I'm going to upload the other design just so I can show you how it works and why I did it. So I'm going to click New, and I'm not saving these. I'm just going to replace it. So New Design. Going to upload again, upload image, browse. I'm going to use this design, which is stacked by color. It does say it's a large image, and that's simply because there are a lot of pieces to it. All right, I'm going to click continue. We get our image details page again, upload. And this design, I'm going to make it a little smaller, is grouped by colors, and it's also stacked so that it fits on a 12 by 12 inch mat. And the reason I did the design this way is because sometimes during a Cricut update, it restricts the design size to 12 by 12. So if everything is stacked on top of each other, it won't resize it automatically. So if you have a problem with your design resizing way too small, then you can use this version, and it's stacked by colors. Okay, first let's ungroup. I'm gonna move this over. Let me move kind of so you can see. So this is one set of pieces that are decorative pieces for the house, and I designed them all in the same color. You can use whatever color you want. Let's ungroup it. Let's check to make sure the size is correct. 1 by 1. It says 1 by 1 in both places. So now we can delete our scale square. And like I said, if you want to change colors, you're welcome to group them by your own, whatever your other colors are. And sometimes this color box is helpful. Let's see if it works this way. I'm not sure if it does. They're grouped. Let's say we want them in green. So it turns them all to green, if that's what you want. Let's check them again. Let's go back to our kind of beigey color. There we go. So that may help you when you're choosing what colors if you use the color box. So each of these is this is a slightly darker color for the windows and the door. These are the Christmas greens. I used a glimmer paper. 12 by 12 cardstock has beautiful glimmer paper. You could use a foil for the foil paper for the bows. And I really think this would look good in pink. I didn't have any 12 by 12 pink, but just think about that. That'll be good. I did group these together. Wait, let me see if I can do something. Group, hide. So this is the roof and the bases, and I grouped, I'm going to ungroup it so I can show you. I grouped this piece just to simplify things. This piece is actually a larger base if you want to use it. I think it makes your house much more sturdy. And I cut this piece out of cardboard. I did about 3 layers of a lightweight cardboard, something like poster board, and then I glued them together and I actually painted it. It adds a border to your house and just makes it more sturdy. And so I just wanted to explain to you why there are 2 different SVG files. One is stacked, so it fits on a 12 by 12 mat, and the other one is the traditional way. Both of them have the 1-inch scale squares to help you just know that the design was uploaded at the correct size. Okay, now, guess what? We get to do the fun part, construction. So this was my prototype version of the Maison de Noel. Are you kidding, Alley Cat? Yeah, now she's out of the way, I hope. Alley Cat, don't you step on the pewter, you know better. This is the painted version. This is my prototype. I wanted to see how it would work, how it would go together, and make sure everything worked fine. These are kind of optional shutters, so you can use them or not. I did not use them for this version. And this, like I said, I painted this on a heavy cardstock. You want to use a strong cardstock. Go on, Alley Cat. You want to use a strong cardstock, even if you don't use, even if you don't paint it, so that it just is sturdier and lasts longer. And when I say a strong cardstock, I mean like 100-pound cardstock or above. So, and when I painted this, I think you can see I actually painted it with kind of a light hand. I didn't like put on thick layers of the acrylic paint because I didn't want it to warp the cardstock, and it actually did really well. And then there's a kind of a bottom support piece that helps keep the house square. The roof is very sturdy. This is actually a, kind of a pyramid shaped roof that makes for a very sturdy house. And then you add the bottom, and it really is, pretty sturdy. So this is, like I said, the painted version. So what do you need to make it? So you need different colored cardstock, and I try to. So for my version, these are the ones I'm using. These are the main colors for the windows, the body, and then I used a brown roof, shimmer paper from 12 by 12 cardstock has beautiful shimmer paper, and I just used kind of a bright red. So those are the things that I've used. I did use Barely Art glue. I used that to apply the trim to my house. It's because I just love this little tip. But for the structure of the house, I used a stronger glue. I used quick dry tacky glue. You could also use tacky glue. You could use turbo tacky glue. But the other thing is you can use your Barely Art glue. It's just not quite as thick, and it doesn't hold quite as well. Okay, so now Alley Cat is sitting on my project. I'm going to have to scoot her off. I'm going to move this out of the way. Then I'm going to move Alley Cat out of the way. Go, Alley Cat. Go on, go, go. Let's see, I think I got all my pieces here. I don't know why she does that. Okay, so this may be a challenge, especially with keeping the hairballs, kitty hairs off. Alley Cat, you're going to have to go. Thank you. Thank you. She wants more food. I gave her some earlier, but anyway, so I've glued some things on already. So I did the side ones. I did the back piece. And I picked this yellow, I think, because the drawing I had this bright yellow. But I really think, honestly, I think it needs to be pink with kind of red. You could do a red roof with it. I just think that would be so pretty. Okay, so the door, I have this really nice dark brown, and that's what I've used for the background. But I wanted a contrasting color sort of for the frame of the door, so I actually inked it with Distress Oxide inks with a brown ink. I think it was walnut stain, which is also sold by the 12 by 12 cardstock people. You do need 2 sheets of whatever color you choose for the background. You need, for the main structure of the house, you do need 2 sheets. There's our door. This down first because it's got a cutout for the door, and I know how to place the door exactly if I get these in place first. Wrong glue. Good glue. I forgot to mention an important detail. Before you do any of this stuff, fold along all your score lines. Make sure they fold well, because once you start gluing things on, you can kind of, it's, let me rephrase that. It's much easier to glue things on when you know exactly where the score lines are. They might function as kind of a guide for you. And one reason I really like glue as opposed to like using tapes or something is that it gives me a moment to line it up correctly. So before you put the door on, be sure to add the trim at the bottom, the stone trim at the bottom first. Okay, where is my door? Now we can do the door frame. And say we need to know that it fits, how it fits relative to the score lines on the side. And I usually make stuff like this just ever so slightly smaller so that it doesn't overlap the score lines. Let's do the door frame first. We got the door. And now we can glue the door in the back, in this space. I did not record the name. I bought several shades of brown from 12 by 12 cardstock, and I did not record the shade I used, so I'm not sure what this dark brown one is. And next, I guess we can go ahead and add these since we're doing our trim at the bottom. And we'll do some windows. So the stone pieces are, the lighter piece is, I saved these tips, is travertine. Travertine, that's what I did the windows with. The background I think is called banana split. It's very, very bright. And then the background stone is sand dollar. So now we've got our stone. Let's add some windows. So for trim, I would get 2 different trim colors, like for the stone overlay and the background of the stone, and then you can match up your windows to one of those colors. So that's, 2 different sheets. And then the shimmer green is just so beautiful. So you just need a little of that. So 1 sheet of that. That's the nice thing about 12 by 12 cardstock is that the you can get the precise colors you want. Of course, what happens is you see so many that you end up buying extra. Let's see, I didn't line these 2 up exactly. That looks pretty good. Let's add a wreath to that window. There we go. And you can do wreaths at the top if you want. I just thought that was a little bit too much, so I did not do that. But of course you can. These bottom windows are just my favorite. Because I'm making a lot of houses this Christmas, I cut out a whole bunch of them, so I've got a whole bunch of wreaths I can use on my little houses if I want. Add it to the door. All right, trim. Let's add this trim that really sets off this kind of front extension, this sort of dormer space. There, see, that helps it. And now I'm going to add some trim. Let me show you the way I designed it. You don't have to use this. If you think this is enough and then maybe you do like the shutters, you can add the shutters instead of adding the decorative trim. So this piece goes here. This is the roof piece, and it extends out just a little bit, just for a little extra detail. And this one does too. If you want to make them a little stronger, you can actually glue 2 pieces together to give them a little more depth. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down. I didn't cut 2 pieces, or rather, I don't have the spare piece with me. And it is important that you glue it right at the score line up here, because the roof only extends to this line, and you don't want, let's see what it looks like. Let me show you. You want them to meet up so they kind of show off. And on my camera, this looks kind of lemony, but it's not so lemony in person. It's not such a lemon yellow. It's more orange yellow. So, all right, now we need our side pieces. These stone side pieces are called quoins, I think. I don't know that I pronounced it correctly. Okay, so I'm going to match this piece up here, these 2, and again, they have to go right on the edge, so that's why you have to fold along score lines before you do anything else. And you want to make sure it's straight. And that's another way the score lines help you. Let me show you somewhere. Like, I didn't line these up. It doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great. See, I did it right on this one, but not on this one. So line it up. Fold along the score line to make sure it matches. And now we can add this piece because they're designed to, fit along the edge. So here we go. I'll make these longer. I have to change the pattern. There's a little gap there. So I'll add some longer pieces. So don't worry about that. It'll be fixed on your pattern. That's why you have to make it a couple of times. You have to make everything a couple of times to make sure you've done it perfect. So this is it's actually my 3rd prototype, but the first one was just structure. this one is, and this was the first real prototype, and yeah. And I moved the top piece down a little bit, but it doesn't need to be down. So, okay. And I've got decorative pieces. I'm not going to do them all for you, but I've got decorative pieces that go here as well, just for a little more visual interest. Remember, this sticks over just a little bit, so slide it behind, right up against this score line. And let's get our quoins, and they are the right length. I lengthened them. So I'll finish this, and then we'll actually put the whole house together and add the roof. Okay, we got a couple more things to do. I'm going to add this garland, and you could add some garland here too. So just kind of decide if you want one or two pieces. I wanted it kind of in the middle, but we need some vellum for the background, and I'm using its translucent vellum. I'm just going to cut it by hand rather than have my machine cut it precisely to these windows. I just think it's easier. So there's one. You want it to be wider than the windows because vellum will wrinkle. So if you glue very close to the window itself, it'll look a little wrinkly. Okay, one more. And the nice thing about cutting it by hand is you can actually, you don't use as much. So for two houses, I've used one sheet of translucent vellum, and I think this one's called Ghost White. And then I need a little piece to go behind here. Alrighty, let's get these in place. And I think the easiest way to do it is to just go around the windows. Go one. Now I'm going to cut a piece to fit this little extension. Let's see if this works. I just think it's so much easier than using your cutting machine. Just go snip, snip. There you go. Now we have our windows in place. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start to assemble the house. The first thing, I'm going to glue these roof flaps together. And you may wonder why I leave this in place, why I didn't just cut it off on the pattern. And the reason is it makes it so much sturdier. It makes it a much more solid piece. So we're going to glue these down. And I'm going to use my tacky glue, my slightly stronger glue. This is kind of my structural glue. And I'll show you another thing. I'm going to use my little clamp. So, because this is 1 10-pound cardstock for the house, I want it to stay flat. And I'll show you why I do this in just a minute. Let's do the same thing on the back piece. It has the same flaps. Again, it just makes it sturdier. The more secure your roof is, the stronger your little house is. Because if you drop it or it tips over, it's going to, mostly land on the roof. Now, when you use little clamps, they actually do make an indentation in the cardstock, but this isn't going to show because we've got an over roof. Okay, so we've got these glued down. Fold along the score lines, and we're going to glue this roof tab and this roof tab to the flap we just glued down. And we will need, or rather I will need, some painter's tape. You may be a better gluer than me, or you may be more patient, and you may hold longer. Okay, and we can use these things too. I think it'll hold. Let's see if it'll reach it. Okay, you want to make sure the lines match up exactly. This one's actually working pretty well. If you want to put just a little piece of tape there, and I just kind of anchor it on the center so that I can pull it off later. And again, this is not going to show. So if when I pull off the tape, it peels up a little of the paint or the cardstock, that's okay. It already looks good, doesn't it? Matched up the corners, and if you want, you can put a little tape down on the inside, but it's really holding pretty well, so I don't think we need to. Now we can insert the back piece. And this is for lighting. I smeared the glue down a little bit so it'll dry faster and adhere faster. So let's just put one in. We can use our binder clips here too, because we have to match up this bottom edge. We have to make sure it's exactly right. So our little house will stand flat. There, use a binder clip. Now we can't really fit a binder clip in here. That's where painter's tape comes in. And because this paper will show, I'm not going to put it on real tight. So I'm just kind of leaving the edges up. I just want it to hold on the edge. And go inside and, apply a little pressure so it'll glue there. Now let's line this edge up exactly. Binder clip again, our little clamp. Okay, there we go. So we can glue this final roof piece. So we'll apply our glue to these flaps. I can be messy here because this is the under roof. And you can either hold it for a second or trusty painter's tape. There we go. I think it's looking good. The little house looks good with a roof, and then we'll glue the over roof on. And see, because we push this up to the top, it looks much better. And while we're waiting for this to dry, we can go ahead and insert our bottom piece. This is something I haven't done much of, but I think with the cardstock house, it's really important to help give it a little more structure. So this is, it's actually a pretty tight fit, but that's what helps keep your house square. So I'm going to apply my tacky glue to these tabs which will slide into the base of the house. You can use like scrap paper for this, scrap cardstock, but I do think it's important that it's at least 100-pound cardstock or higher. I don't think 60, I mean, you can use 65. I just don't think it will do the job as well as the heavier cardstock. Now see, I've already gotten glue on my fingers, so I have to wipe it off before I can really push this in. I want to make it flat. And it doesn't, the truth is this doesn't have to be exactly precise, because even if it was pushed in a little bit, it's still holding the structure in place. Every time I move it, another corner moves. But it is important that it not extend past the bottom of the house. It needs to be even with the bottom of the house. But you see how it's pushed in a little bit? But that's okay. But it holds my house square. And it stands up nicely. Oh, and then obviously it's open, so you can add some lighting inside. You could use like a string of those tiny LED lights. You could put it in the back. You could put them in the bottom. What I've done in the past is I've even glued them, not on the window themselves, but below the window. You just kind of, before you glue the house all together, glue a string below the windows. Then it really lights up well. I use just a dab of hot glue on the wire, not the light, the wire, and that really makes a nice. It's a nice way to glue to light up your little house. Okay, so we got our little house, got the structure, and now the roof's gonna make it pop. I can kind of go glue crazy with this. Actually, it's a little bit too much. Let's smear it around the edges. And even these edges are going to be covered up with a piece of cardstock. Okay, here's our piece, our main over roof. Center it. And now we need to cover up these sides. So I've got two pieces for the sides. There's one slightly challenged. It looks like what they call an equilateral triangle, that each side is the same, but it's not. This distance is longer. So when you take it off your mat, if you'll draw an arrow to show the orientation, the top side, the bottom is 2.5 inches, and each of these sides is just over 2.5. So it's a little bit tricky. So I forgot to tell you that when we cut it out. But when you take it off the mat, if you will mark the top, what should go to the top, then you won't have any problem. Now the truth is, wait, let me show you. It kind of fits anyway, but it fits better if you match it up there. And we'll cover up these edges with some flashing. Okay, so this piece, remember I matched it up with the long side going in this direction. All right, next let's do a little bit of glue. Even if glue says it's matte and it's not, doesn't have a shine, it does have a shine. So these are the pieces that cover up the edges. So let's add some glue to them. And then after that, we only have the roof that goes behind the front extension, this kind of dormer extension. And that's actually probably the hardest thing. You just kind of have to ooch it in place. I'll show you, of course. These overlap. All right. See, I like the flashy, but let me see. I just think that's another fun detail. Okay, now for the only slightly hard part. This kind of looks like, got like two little legs and then a peak. I thought that was easier than doing a circular one. I really think it holds in place better. It's not going to show unless you look at it kind of from the top. If you wanted to skip this tip, you could, but I just think it kind of completes the house a little bit, but it is a little tricky because you have to kind of squeeze it into a tight place without pushing this front piece out. So it's a little bit challenging. Like I said, if you want to skip it, you can. So I apply glue to the edge, both edges. Whenever you're applying a dormer roof to a house, the angled side goes against the angle of the roof. So I'm probably going to be really messy about this one. I'm trying to do it on camera, so I just kind of squeeze it in place. That one's too, I squeezed it too much. Like way, way, way too much. Let's move it out. Okay, I'm going to move it up because it's pushing my thing too forward. So I'm going to move it up some. Slightly damp paper towel to clean up my mess. Now I'm going to eventually add snow to this so it will cover up my glue, kind of my glue mistakes. And then if you want to, you can apply like a little pressure. Let's see if I can get my hand in here. Nope, I can't. So I'm going to apply snow, and that'll kind of obscure my glue mistakes up here, my excess glue. But I do think it completes it. It's just fiddly. It's just a fiddly thing. And there we finished our house. Now, if you want, you can glue it to the base. And I do recommend that. You don't have to, but then, this isn't a huge base, but it really adds more stability. Your house is much less likely to tip over when it's glued to a base. And when we've added this, we've got a much bigger glue surface than just adding it to the rim. So the other thing is I want to add some snow to the base as well. So I'm going to have snow on the rooftops. Maybe I add a little bit in a corner of the windows too. I don't know. I'll let you know when I finish that part. But that is the Maison de Noel, made with 12 by 12 cardstock papers, and I hope you enjoy it and have fun. Now that I've finished showing you all the steps to make this little Maison de Noel, I wanted to show you the finished product with the snow on the roof. I really like the way the snow looks. I added this base. This is just kind of a painted base, 3 layers of cardboard, and that's also covered with snow. And I think I added, during the video I didn't add a wreath at the top, but I like the wreath on the top. And on this version I added 2 layers of garland. I just thought it looked better. So anyway, I hope you will make it, and if you have any questions you can always ask. I'm Lucy at paperglitterglue.com, and I hope you'll check out all the other projects I have on my website. I've got a free vintage ornament for you that'll be linked on this page at 12 by 12 cardstock. And if you're interested, this is my alpine wreath, and it's on sale. It's an alpine wreath workshop. There are 12 different houses, but I also show you tricks about how to decorate them. It went into how to apply glitter, how to apply the snow, and sort of some tricks on how to attach it to the wreath so that they are secure. But later, if you want to take them off, you can. So that's my Alpine Wreath Workshop. And again, I'm Lucy, paperglitterglue.com, and I hope you have fun today.